Goat Format's meta continues to evolve in 2024, and Goat Duels is here to cover every important meta development that you need to know if you want to win your next Goat Format tournament. We're giving you the biggest hits from 2023 and the best meta calls for 2024. We'll be talking about the dominance of Chaos, but don't worry, there's plenty of other stuff to cover as well. Welcome to Goat Duels, I'm ACP, now let's get started. If Goat Format has a boogeyman, then it's definitely this deck right here, Thunder Dragon Chaos. It's the most popular deck, and it tends to get the most top cut slots in tournaments on average. Now here's what I had to say about this deck a year ago. I do want to go on the record and say that I think Standard Chaos's best days are far behind it. Now while that prediction was definitely not correct, my opinions have not changed very much. I still see people bombarding our comment sections with posts about Chaos being tier 0, but the data does not support that assessment. Yes, you can find tournaments dominated by Chaos, but you can find months in a row where Chaos hardly made more than a dent in top cut deck lists. Chaos did very well at Worlds 2023 in particular, but those results were largely an outlier, and the rule set of that tournament was quite unusual. In particular, its time limit discouraged the use of Solemn Judgment, which is often played in the decks that are the best counters to Chaos. What decks, you might ask? Well, here are my top 5 picks to beat the standard Chaos deck in 2024. We'll start with the obvious one, Warriors. It dominated the first half of 2023 as players like Lucas swept tournament after tournament, and it's still a great pick in 2024. In the second half of 2023, we saw the emergence of a new take on the classic Warrior strategy, a deck that I just like to call mid-range Warriors. It uses cards like Zombira the Dark to get an edge on other Warrior decks, and Zaborg the Thunder Monarch as a bomb in the Chaos matchup. But most importantly, it plays Gravekeeper Spy as a great card in both matchups and tribute fodder for Zaborg. Gravekeeper Spy absolutely dominated 2023, and that's not going to change in 2024. If you don't understand why Gravekeeper Spy is such a menace in Goat Format, then you have to watch our Gravekeeper Spy video that is solely dedicated to explaining this phenomenon. My second pick to beat Standard Chaos is Chaos Return, which we also just covered in a video. It has some similarities to the Warrior decks with Blade Knight, Solemn Judgment, and Trap Dushu, but it's got more resiliency and more OTK potential than Warriors, at the cost of higher variance. You see, playing 19 monsters can lead to some awkward hands at times. Will Chaos Return see a resurgence in 2024? I don't know, it depends on who takes up its mantle. You see, Goat Format is still a game that rewards the best technical players, which is why we see players like Don't Copy crush tournaments with this, but also with this. Don't hate the game, hate the players. If you're not entering tournaments to make friends, then consider using one of these alt-win decks. Library FTK recently placed second in a large Goat Format tournament, and perhaps you can be the one to take it to even greater heights in 2024. It works by using Royal Magical Library, Giant Trunade, and a swath of continuous spells to draw your whole deck on the first turn, ending with a combo of Black Pendant and Reversal Quiz to instantly kill your opponent. Your average Chaos deck is not prepared to deal with this kind of speed, especially if it's playing Jar of Greeds instead of Solemn Judgments. Library FTK has over a 50% FTK rate and is easily capable of comboing on later turns as well. Just collect your free wins and show Chaos that it's far from the most unfair deck in the format. But perhaps even better is Reasoning Gate, a deck that Chaos is equally unprepared to deal with, but that isn't as much of a glass cannon as Library FTK. It takes a certain kind of person to dedicate themselves to mastering the Reasoning Lottery, but once you do, it's quite rewarding. I personally like the lists that use Cyberstein, but this archetype is still super underexplored, so get creative. Chaos decks aren't citing any nasty floodgates like Jowgant or Spellcanceller, and not even Karibo or Threatening Roar. Other than this one guy main decking anti-spell fragrance, the meta is utterly unprepared to stop your onslaught of Beat Sticks and Sacred Cranes. Then we have Burn. Burn decks used to be all about having Broads in Atlanta, but we're taking this deck to a new level now. Check out this list here, which uses Manju and Senju to fuel Magic Jammer and Exchange. Yes, this is a deck you can play apparently, and I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Nightmare Wheel is low-key the most broken burn card in GOAT format.
What about Ring of Destruction?
Okay, not more broken than Ring of Destruction, but it's still pretty good. And Chaos players absolutely hate this one weird trick. Use Nightmare Wheel on your opponent's set Magician of Faith to disable that bitch while burning your opponent for 500 each turn. It does the job of Nobleman a crossout while also putting a stop to Warrior shenanigans as well. I don't even know if this is technically a burn deck, but it plays 3 Nightmare Wheel, so you should try it, okay? Make Chaos players cry after you flip Mask of Darkness followed by Golem Sentry. You think Mystic Walk will be enough to stop you? Think again, pal. People better be packing Royal Decrees or they're gonna have a bad time. So if you want to beat Chaos, then your answer is simple. Play one of these 2 aggressive decks or one of these 3 alt-win decks. You want to try to out-control them? Well, Goat Control is starting to pick up in popularity again, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. If I had to describe Goat Control in one word, it would be unforgiving. One small mistake can cost you the game, and meanwhile your Chaos opponent just has to discard some Thunder Dragons and set flip effect monsters until they magically win the game.
Oh, did I win?
It's not what I'd want to sign up for. Alright, you want some predictions now? Well, I'll give you some predictions. Prediction 1, 2024 is going to be a dark age for GOAT format. A bit of a correction, if you will. There's a new shiny object that's distracting a lot of players, and it's called Edison format. People are starting to get tired of GOAT format, kind of like if you were to eat your favorite food for 2 weeks straight. So they're trying out something new just to see what's out there. It's kind of like what your girlfriend does when she says she needs some space and she wants to take a break. Okay, that's not true. I know Yu-Gi-Oh players don't have girlfriends, but hopefully that analogy made some sense. Now, GOAT format will always be my one true love, but I fear this peaking interest in the format will only result in less innovation and more complaining in the GOAT format community. If I had to summarize the community's sentiment in 2023, it would probably be everyone hates Chaos, and that sentiment is likely to continue into 2024. I hope you all prove me wrong, because GOAT format is still ripe for innovation. Look at this recent tournament where 7 out of the top 8 decks were all non-Chaos, and some pretty spicy decks at that. I don't even know what this deck is, but it's cool as hell, and I think there's a chance that we may see it emerge as a new contender in the 2024 meta. Last Will into Cyberstein is a devastating but still vastly underplayed combo. But I suspect we're mostly going to see more of the same. The triangle of Chaos, GOAT Control, and Warriors will still be the dominating force of the meta, with Chaos being the biggest piece of that triangle. There are still tons of underexplored and underplayed decks out there, but it's much easier for me to sit here and tell you what's good than it is to actually predict what the masses will pick up and play. As they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And as Yogi Berra once said, predictions are tough, especially about the future. What I can predict though is that Gravekeeper Spy is still going to be the absolute nuts, and you immediately need to click on this video to find out why.